Welcome to Dirty Fanatics United.
Falcon fans, Falcon Nation, welcome to another episode of Dirty Fanatics United. I am your host, as always, C Money, followed by my awesome panel of co-hosts Cody and David here to talk Falcon football with me tonight. Falcon fans, if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, be sure to subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when we go live. As always, we are your Atlanta Falcon content creators, bringing you true and real reactions to the Atlanta Falcons transactions. The Atlanta Falcons did interview today Ian Cunningham for the second interview of the GM spot, as well as Buddy from 49ers, Justin Williams. They also interviewed the 49ers GM assistant today. A little bit of topics of what we'll be talking about today. GM situation in Atlanta. Cody, new OC in Atlanta, and a familiar face in the NFC South that we'll see twice a year in Tampa Bay. Zach Robinson officially hired in as the OC for Tampa. Cody, just your thoughts on, real quick, we'll open the podcast with the OC topic because we're going to dive in about this GM hire here very soon. Tommy Reese, the Atlanta Falcons' new OC, obviously familiar with Kevin Stefanski as he did run the offense for the Cleveland Browns mid-season of last year's season for the Cleveland Browns. Cody, just your thoughts on the Tommy Rees hire, what this means for the Atlanta Falcons offense, and really basically for the fans that are desperate for a top-tier OC that has proven that he can call plays in Atlanta after the bad 2 years with Zach Robinson.
Well, I mean, honestly, for me, it's looking at it as Coach Stefanski, calls plays. I think this is more of he's got a guy that he trusts to run the offense while he's doing head coaching stuff. I don't think it's, I don't think it's a sexy hire. I think it's kind of a familiar hire, which I know we have not had a ton of luck with, with raw, hiring buddies and stuff like that. I think this situation is probably a little different because I think that Coach Stefanski is going to be in the driver's seat of this way more so than the OC is. So I'm okay with it. He knows the guy. He knows what Coach Stefanski wants to do. I think he can marry the run game and the pass game because now you don't have two guys running, a passing game and a different guy running a run game. You've got, two guys who are on the same page. So overall, again, not the sexiest hire, not something that's going to turn any heads, but, Matt Ryan, we trust at this point, boys. So I'll say that's where I'm at. So I trust it.
David, what would you say about the situation of some Falcon fans would say, here we go, another friendly hire. Let's hire our familiar foe in Atlanta to establish our first year in Atlanta. What would you say to those Falcon fans that say, this is another wasted pick, this is another OC that will be released and rehired, looking for a new position next season at OC? David, what is your thoughts about the hire of Tommy Rees, him and Stefanski in Cleveland, obviously ranking possibly one of the worst offenses in the league with Tommy Rees and Kevin Stefanski last year in Cleveland? David, just your thoughts. This is the stats, not me hating, but this is the reality of the hire here in Atlanta.
Got to give it the benefit of the doubt. If it's with Stefanski coming over as the head coach, obviously everybody know that he is the de facto play caller. So it wasn't going to be a Mike McDaniel coming over here to run the OC position for us. It was going to be someone that knew Stefanski's system and who's better than the guy that has been with them. If it's Stefanski, I think those two were kind of joined together. I think it was kind of obvious that was going to be the choice when he was chosen. That the offensive coordinator position is like, it's like a limbo position. That position is going to come to someone that's going to help him install through the week. So it has to be somebody that knows the system instead of somebody he got to bring in, teach his system to, and then they go mid-season before they're really, lined up into what they're going to do and how they're going to, install the week. So, it makes sense. I don't know too much about the guy, but I just know that he's been with Stefanski and in that position that he's, currently in. So, I'm with it.
Real quick, man, head it over to the comment section. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in tonight. Y'all hit that like button, bring the comments, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Please do not forget to hashtag DFU to be entered into the 3 giveaway raffle here at DFU. Once we get 20 entries, we will do that raffle the very next live for a Falcon throwback hoodie, a Julio Jones bobblehead, and a Atlanta Falcon flag, courtesy of DFU, man. So get your hashtag DFUs and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Shout out to Silt Legacy. He says, "What's up, fam? Yeet, get some." Shout out to Silt Legacy with the first comment tonight of the show. My guy gets the star for the pinned comment for the first comment of the show. Sterling Woods in the chat with us. Says, "What's going on, DFU?" Sterling, what's going on, man? Glad to have you here tonight talking some Falcon football. Maggie Productions is in the chat with us. Said, "What's happening?" Glad to have you, Miss Maggie. Guys, check out Miss Maggie's podcast as she is part of the Atlanta Falcon Bird Nation for the ladies part. They do a podcast, the All Lady Podcast. Great show. Be sure to check out Maggie Productions on YouTube. Sterling says, "Ian Cunningham has to be our next GM." Sterling, stay tight because we will get to that topic very soon. South Rick in the comment section says, "What's going on, everyone? Falcon Nation over everybody. Rise up, baby." We're going to call it Double X. Says, what you guys think about getting Pickens here to pair with Drake London? Guys, we got a second here. We'll talk about it. David, coming to you first.
Pickens, definitely a talent. Can he be a little bit of a thorn in, the side of an OC if he's not getting his way? I've seen him through Georgia that did, keep up with him through Pittsburgh and, this year, last year with Dallas, but, he can be a little whiner at times, and in my opinion. But, he did have a really productive season. If he's not getting the ball like he wants to, he can be someone that his body language is not good to me when, he goes down that route. So, I think everything in this offense rises and falls with Bijan, and he's not going to be the number one option if he comes here, and I don't think that suits his personality.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a bad player. He's definitely a talent, and, he definitely makes a difference, on football teams that he goes to. I honestly rather see Tyreek Hill here. He's kind of talked about coming back to the South and, being at home. So if you were giving me an options between Pickens and Tyreek Hill, I'm going Tyreek Hill. I think you probably get him a little cheaper than you would get a Pickens. I'm not going to hate it if Atlanta, goes, go ahead and, pick Pickens up and free agency. But for my money, I'd rather see a Tyreek Hill here.
Yep. I would take either name. Either name sounds appealing to me across from a Drake London here in Atlanta. George Pickens or Tyreek Hill coming off the injury. I'm sure he's still one of the deadliest route running receivers in the league. Tyreek Hill back in Georgia? ? That's a good topic for the offseason, guys. Shout out to the comment from Double X. Hit that like button, brother. Good comment. Southside Riggy says, "Our best move so far is bringing in OG Kill, Bill Callahan." Cody, coming to you with this topic. Callahan was announced. He is the OC. The offensive line coach here in Atlanta. They did release our former OC O-line coach. Pretty good running his time here in Atlanta. So tough decisions there, letting another decent coach go here in Atlanta. Cody, your thoughts of Callahan, now the offensive line coach, as you yourself were a lineman in high school. Your thoughts on that legendary name being in that line room?
Yeah, I think he brings a toughness to this offensive line that, we probably needed. I'm not saying our old coach was bad, but I mean, at the same time, Bill Callahan, he builds those big offensive lines. Cleveland there for a while. You have to understand it is Cleveland. I know people are going to sit there and be like, well, they had a horrible offensive line. But if you really look on the talent side of it, there, no real big names stick out on the Cleveland offensive line outside of Alex Mack. And we were able to take him, in the later, years. But, as a whole, the Cleveland Browns had one of the top, I think they finished top 5, top 6, 3 or 4 times in the 6 years that Stefanski was the head coach over there. And so he brings that toughness up to the front of the line that, ultimately is going to help Bijan. Because, I mean, let's be honest, guys, one of the things that has absolutely killed us is 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 3rd and 3, and we've not been able to get behind a guard or get behind a big tackle, either in Jake Matthews or, as much as I love him, Chris Lindstrom, and, put the big bruising back like Tyler Algier back there and pick up a yard. And I think Callahan is definitely the guy that you can get in here that can fix those kind of problems, and now whether that means that, we're going to have to get bigger up front, which I think is probably going to be, but we do have the benefit of getting Caleb McGarry back, and when Caleb McGarry's in the game, our run game just looks better. It improves. So I think, with him coming in, it definitely not only benefits our offensive line and that toughness that he'll have them bring, but it benefits Bijan big time. And Tyler Algier, when, ultimately I hope he comes back. So
I would like the whole staff has being assembled is going to benefit Bijan. That was a good statement, Cody. I like that because Bijan, this is going to be a Bijan year. Bijan's coming with hopefully an upgraded philosophy on the O-line. He's coming in with a system that I know what Stefanski did with Nick Chubb before he got injured was top tier. So I don't see that what Bijan did this year kind of taking a step back with how everything is aligning up with the people that they're bringing in. I think that it's going to be a big year for Bijan, and that's going to be good for the Atlanta Falcons.
It's going to be scary for us.
We're going to come right to our next topic here in just a second. Before we do, Omno in the chat with it said, "Yo, I figure it would be Tommy Rees." Chat, give me a 1 in the chat for Tommy Rees was a safe hire. Give me a 2 in the chat if Tommy Rees was a risky hire here for Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. Omno says he knew it would be Tommy Rees. Southside Ricky says Joe Thomas will be a Hall of Famer if he isn't already. King Atlanta supporter said, "What's up? The tight ends will be in the mix too." Absolutely. I think they have a big decision when it comes to Kyle Pitts and what Kevin Stefanski is able to do with tight ends. You've seen it with David Njoku in Cleveland. And Kyle Pitts spoke about it today on a podcast about how exciting it was that the tight end position would be, not saying that it wasn't, but he said it would be featured more in this offense with a Kevin Stefanski. So I think Kyle Pitts looking for that big role with a new head coach here in Atlanta. We'll see if the deal gets done, if the Atlanta Falcons decide to keep Kyle Pitts or not. Southside Ricky says we need to get rid of Darnell Mooney too. I'm more than sure that happens. I'm more than sure the Atlanta Falcons release Darnell Mooney. April Thomas gives the Tommy Rees a risky hire in Atlanta. Silk Legacy says it is safe. King with the safe. Georgia, Texas boy in the chat said, "What it do, DFU and Falcons family? The new era is here. LFG." He gives it a safe hire in Atlanta for Tommy Rees. Southside Ricky says, 1, it's safe because I think Stefanski will be calling plays in Atlanta. King Atlanta supporter says, "Who do y'all think will be the general manager?" Coming to that topic here in just a second. My next topic for you, Cody and David, was with the hire of Tommy Rees, with the hire of Bill Callahan, what exactly did this mean for the Atlanta Falcons offense? What could the Atlanta Falcons fans expect from a Bill Callahan offensive line? We talked about the new genre here, the new era in Atlanta. Players that were familiar faces in Atlanta could be on the trade block, could be finding a way to a new team next year. What kind of changes do you guys expect to see with this new offensive coordinator and play caller in Kevin Stefanski?
Well, I think the first thing that you're going to see different is it's definitely going to be a more aggressive run style. I think we'll probably get out of that zone blocking scheme, and you'll probably see more of an aggressive blocking style with Kevin Stefanski, because he does. I mean, he likes to get his tight ends involved in the run game, and that I think that was why Nick Chubb was so successful in Cleveland. Well, Stefanski and Callahan were down there, was because he was able to get those bigger bodies. And I think I really don't know how much of a change you're gonna see, but I think you're gonna see enough. As far as like blocking tight end, and obviously I think some bigger offensive linemen coming in. Now, whether that's through a draft or whether that's through trade, whether that's through free agency, is yet to be seen. I think that'll probably be more of, as they get an entire staff together, I think you'll start to see changes there. But I think that's probably what you're going to see and notice the difference is the size of this team is about to get a lot bigger in support of that run game.
If Kevin Stefanski comes in Atlanta and ships Chris Lindstrom off for a second-round draft pick, how many Falcon fans have already wrote him off?
Oh, I think I don't know how many more Falcon fans could really write him off. The unfortunate thing, with our fan base is like, you see, he hasn't coached a single play yet, and I've seen more hate and more, let's get ready for a new head coach in another 2 years, and the guy hasn't called a single play yet. We've yet to see what this team even looks like yet. The team's not even put together yet, so I imagine there'll be people. The good news is he's an offensive lineman, so if he does get shipped off somewhere else, I don't think that you'll see quite the attention to it, but there'll be people that'll have their issues with it.
David, the topic goes to you, man. What kind of changes could Falcon fans expect in this new offense here in Atlanta under Kevin Stefanski?
Well, I definitely think it will be a bit more structure in the pass game. I know we know we're going to run the ball. Bijan is going to be Bijan. Of course, any offensive coordinator is going to come in, is going to try to make sure they get Bijan their touches. What I want to see is how that marries into the passing game. Are you going to be able to do more play action? Are you going to be able to get the safety to come and stack the box to take Bijan off, play action, and give me a layered throw where you give a quick read to a Michael Penix that is gonna design someone open instead of having to sit down and go through multiple progressions and everything. That's that's the kind of offensive coordinator I could do. Like when you did look at Mac McDaniel, he comes in and he schemes the play open. Instead of sitting down, one hitch, two hitch, scanning the field, pretty much the play is designed to get somebody open. And if it doesn't happen, then you go to your outlets and everything. But I just didn't see a lot of that with Zach Robinson. I didn't see any time where his play design automatically got somebody that first option open. And that's what I'm looking for with Stefanski and Reese coming in.
So, David, Cody, one of the hot topics heading in through this whole week was why haven't the Atlanta Falcons hired a GM for this team yet? Now the Atlanta Falcons kick off today with not only 2 re-interviews, but also 3 more interviews from new candidates here tonight. Throughout this afternoon, the Atlanta Falcons have released that. The question is that I have to you guys is, you have your head coach in order, you have your OC in order now in Atlanta. Are the Falcons finally aligning GM, head coach, and OC, or is this just part of the plan where the Atlanta Falcons really want to hit on this GM position in Atlanta? And then finish it off with what it really means for the Atlanta Falcons to re-interview Ian Cunningham and Josh Williams. Is it narrowed down to those 2 candidates?
Well, I'll take it first, Cody. I'll go to the re-interview first. All right, the re-interview counts because the whole structure of the Falcons have changed since the initial interview with Ian Cunningham. So He came in to interview for the president position where there was still some uncertainty about the direction that the Falcons were going to end up going in and what their mind state was going to be in building, the front office and the team in that regard. Now now it's not. They already know Ian Cunningham's resume, and the other guy, Ian's my choice, so I won't even call the other guy's name. So Ian is coming in, and they're trying to align the thinking part to what the team is now, opposed to when they interview him for the president. So they got the resume and they know who the guy was when they interviewed him for a president. But now they're coming in and interviewing him for a different position, which the Polaroid has started to develop a little bit, and now they want to come in and see does Ian's fit into that picture now.
Yeah. Yep. Great explanation there, David. That makes a lot of sense of why, you would bring those guys back. You do now have the new OC in Atlanta, the new head coach. Now you're just looking for that GM. Cody, the question goes to you. The re-interviews of Josh Williams and then the interview of Ian Cunningham, a lot of fans are keyed in on Ian Cunningham. Cody, just who is your top candidate for this position, and what makes Ian Cunningham such a flashy personnel for GM here in Atlanta?
Yeah, well, and I kind of align with the fans on this one. Ian Cunningham's definitely my guy for the GM spot. And what makes him so attractive is you go look at his resume. He was there with the Eagles when they had the great draft. Taking all those Georgia Bulldogs. You look at what he was able to do with the Chicago Bears were 13-3, 13-4, or whatever their record wound up being. Was able to turn that dumpster fire around with the picks and stuff like that. I believe it was with Baltimore prior to that, and obviously Baltimore has been winning games and in the playoffs and doing things like that. So that's what makes him so attractive to me, is that he's been able to get in the players, whether it be through free agency or through drafting or whatever the case may be, that he's been able to take these teams and make them successful long term. What I also like is that I think he brings in a lot of experience, and this helps out Matt, who's obviously this is his first year on the job. Now, even if the guy didn't have any experience, I think Matt's going to thrive doing what he does. But I think the importance of, bringing in a second, them in for second interviews is much to David's point, is that, now we're established with the head coach and a president of football, Matt Ryan and Coach Stefanski. So now I think what they're really trying to sit down and do is, hey, what is your vision? And are you able, this is what, Coach Stefanski wants to do. Do you think that you're able to, work the cap numbers and work the numbers with the players that he wants to keep, the players he wants to get rid of, the guys that he wants to bring in? Is that something you can do? So I think they're just trying to make sure that, these two guys, are married, with the coach in that vision that Matt's got for the football team. And I think that's what it's all boiling down to, is just who's the best fit, to work alongside Coach Stefanski. But yeah, again, for my money, I think Ian Cunningham's the guy. He brings the experience that, Matt can surround himself with. He's put together good teams, in Baltimore, in Philadelphia, and now in Chicago. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely understand the appeal of Cunningham. Yeah.
Yeah, Cunningham, definitely one of the top candidates, was one of the first interviews for that position. Also interviewed for president of football along with Matty Ice and others. So, Ian Cunningham could be a name to keep on your radar, as I expect the hire to be very soon for the Falcons to be pulling this many this late in the week. I expect the hire to be sometime before Tuesday of next week. One of the rumors that came or that was circulating around, David, was that the GM position in Atlanta was yet filled because Falcons loyalty tied to Michael Penix. David, we've heard all quarterback scenarios in Atlanta, what could be or who could be the starting quarterback next season. David, now that you kind of see who they've hired as the OC, the line coach, what the Atlanta Falcons' identity will be on the offense side of the ball, who could you see at the helm of this offense next season?
Well, our number 2 quarterback will be Joe Flacco, without a doubt. And I think that makes all the sense even bring him in, even if Penix is available to start day one. I think Flacco is someone that knows the system. That will be like that extra coach that's coming in. So I think that him coming in, to help bridge the learning gap with the new system with the quarterback, I think that makes the most sense. I do think Penix is going to be our quarterback. I haven't given up on Michael Penix being the future of Atlanta Falcon quarterback. But I definitely think of Joe Flacco coming in to try to help the learning curve and be that person to lean on that he said he didn't have. Reese would be another, outlet for Michael Penix to, bounce ideas off through the week, being that, he didn't have that major, OC type responsibility. I think that's going to be where we get the bread and butter out of him. So Flacco as the bridge quarterback until Michael Penix is strong enough to get on back on the field. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely haven't given up on Michael Penix either, and I've kind of been standing on the table, beating my chest for Joe Flacco too. And with Stefanski coming in and bringing in, his, OC that he had with in Cleveland. I mean, look at the success the Browns had while Joe Flacco was there. I mean, I'm not a Cleveland Brown fan by any stretch of the imagination or even really pay attention to him, but even just seeing kind of the success that they had enough that it blipped on my radar tells you something. So I'm definitely for Joe Flacco coming in here, bridging for a while. Again, to David's point, it's almost like bringing another coach in, another quarterback coach in. I think Joe Flacco is very intelligent when it comes to football. He won a Super Bowl. He knows what he's doing. He led the Ravens, to a lot of playoff wins, led him to obviously to Super Bowl and a Super Bowl win. So for my money, yeah, absolutely. Again, I think Joe Flacco is the guy that you bring in to bridge here. It gives Michael Penix that time to heal, recover, and I think you can get some serviceable miles out of Joe Flacco, especially with him just being comfortable with the coaching staff here. I'm sure Joe and Matt also have some kind of relationship, both being drafted in 2008, both being rookie starters for the first time in the NFL, quarterback-wise anyways. So there's definitely, rapport there. So I definitely see that happening, to bring in the bridge, and it definitely works out well for our young quarterback.
So here's my question, and whoever wants to take this can take this. What can Atlanta Falcon fans expect out of a Joe Flacco ran offense in Kevin Stefanski's first year in Atlanta when the Atlanta Falcons want playoffs or bust so bad? What could the Atlanta Falcons fans expect with a Joe Flacco and a Kevin Stefanski in year one?
I don't think that it would be many games in all my hopes. I would think that if he started week 1, week 2 to give Penix some time to, those couple extra weeks to, get adapted to the system and really get back on his feet. That's what I would hope would be the situation. I would hope that the majority of the season would be started by Michael Penix. I think he's definitely a talented young quarterback. I think that, a lot of the things about him not being able to go under center, I think that's overblown. Yep. I think that
you've seen the comments, David, on I'm sure you've seen it online of Penix snapping back at people about that situation.
Yeah, I think that's overblown. You get a media that comes out with a take, and then it goes like wildfire. It'd be the next trending thing. Someone said it, and another one said it. And next thing a quarterback that probably played the position since he was 6 years old can't go on the center and take a snap. That really doesn't make any sense. I know that a lot of the offenses now are shotgun and spread, and I want every Falcon fan to go up and look at the average number of snaps that a team take up from under center. Not just Michael Penix. I know the pistol was something that everybody jumped on, but I think that the majority of offenses take 90% of their snaps out of the shotgun, and that's that really what that leaves 7-8 plays a game where they really take a snap from up on the center.
Yeah,
10 And now you're going to tell me that young man can't go and take 10 snaps from up on the center. No, it don't make sense to me.
Question here from Southside Ricky. Cody, coming to you about that same exact topic. What's the deal with Will Levis? Will he be a free agent? I'm not sure about that. I'd have to Google that. David, could you look that up? Will Will Levis be a free agent? Cody, topic's yours, brother.
Yeah,
Why I'm looking it up, I don't know, but I will.
I would say, yeah, I'm not as optimistic about Penix being back as early as week 1 or week 2. I think we're probably looking more like a mid to late October run. So I'm thinking if Joe Flacco comes in here, we're probably looking more like 4 or 5 games with Joe, maybe even 6. I would say I still think that gives Penix, that obviously give Penix, 11 starts after that point. But I think with Joe, I think I saw somebody expect, 27 points a game with Joe. And I can see that too. Honestly, I think Joe's got, the ability, not only to snap under. I think, honestly, what you would get with the Joe Flacco is you get a lot what you get with Kirk Cousins, but I think you still get more zip on the ball. I think Joe Flacco's a lot more mobile than Kirk Cousins is. So I think you kind of get like that what you would expect out of Kirk Cousins, but you get more mobility, you get more of an arm, you get more of, the other things that, it seems like Kirk is kind of starting to lose, and you can't blame Kirk. Kirk's 38 or 37, however old Kirk is. He's up there. And I know Joe is too, but I think Joe is also not. To me, it feels like Joe hasn't played as many football games as Kirk has, at least as a starter. So I think a lot of that wear and tear that Kirk's got, Joe doesn't have, especially not having an ACL injury tear like Kirk does. So I think you could expect a lot of what you saw down that last 4-game stretch, of good football with this football team. Just, more exciting on the passing side, because I do think Joe Flacco probably brings a little bit more, I guess, youth, you could say youth, and more a healthier version of Kirk Cousins, a more mobile, healthier version of Kirk Cousins.
Will Levis is a free agent after 2026. So Will Levis possibly a name. Chat, give me your starting quarterback to start for the Atlanta Falcons week 1 and through OTAs. Who do you think the Atlanta Falcons sign here in Atlanta for that quarterback position as we wait for Penix to heal up and get back at QB1? My last question for tonight's show was, and we can make this the last topic or we can keep running after this, is this officially the last year of the Atlanta Falcons rebuild?
We're not in a rebuild. I'll leave it at that.
I would say it's. I definitely don't want to say rebuild, because to me, when you say rebuild, it makes me think. I mean, you've got to get a ton more playmakers. I think at this point, it's. And I hate this term, but I mean, this is kind of my thing. Is more of a retooling than it is a rebuild, and I really that's a dirty word to me, retool, because I'm thinking, you've got your run game set up. You've got a Bijan Robinson. Hopefully you've got a Tyler Algier returning next year. You've got a Drake London that's coming, that's, more or less coming back. You definitely have things that you got to fix. Obviously you definitely need a wide receiver 2. You definitely need a CB2. You got to find something in that middle linebacker spot. So for me, it's not so much as a rebuild as it is, but I think, there's no reason that this team, and again, last year there was no reason, and that's why Coach Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot aren't here, because there was no reason for this team not to win the NFC South. You should not have lost to Carolina twice. You damn sure shouldn't have lost to the 3-13 Jets, or the 3-14 Jets. You shouldn't have done that.
Sheesh.
You should have taken care of your kicking problems, because even I, as a big Younghoe Koo fan was, as I, was, when I'm at week 3 going, hey, maybe change your kicker, it was probably trying to change your kicker, and I was, I'll own it. That was, me being, just being a fan of Younghoe Koo. But when I was finally saying it was time, it was time, and you didn't address that, and again, that's why Terry and Coach Raw aren't here anymore. So I think these guys will will do that. I think we've got the leadership now with Matt Ryan, running things, from grass to ball. That's what Matt's worried about. So I expect this team to win the NFC South. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that we're not going to be stressed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you need to lower your heart medication. Keep all that, because they're the Falcons and they're going to do that to us. That it does not matter. They're going to do that to us. But this team should absolutely win the South and should absolutely, I'm not going to say a deep playoff push year one, but expect at least one win in the playoffs.
Yeah, the only thing we rebuilt was the coaching staff.
That's it.
That it would be a slap in the face to the talent level of the Atlanta Falcons and the players that they have on the team now to say that we are in a rebuild. We have some very sound veterans leadership. We have some very youth that play at a high level, and marrying those two, the veterans and the energy of the youth. I think the Falcons are in a very good position, to compete now. I think their window is really just opening. I think they have a piece here, a piece there, like Cody said, that we need to go with. But definitely too much talent on this team to say that we're rebuilding.
Yep. I agree. So we know who the staff is now. We know who will be in Atlanta. We are retaining Jeff Ulbrich as the DC in Atlanta. It is official. Jeff Ulbrich will return. Who is that first selection in the second round for the Atlanta Falcons now? Do you go offensive lineman? Could you really go ahead and find a Jake Matthew replacement in this year's draft? Or is it still receiver number 2, the top option for that draft selection? Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely don't think you go offensive line in the you can find so much talent on the offensive line, throughout the draft. So definitely need to fix that wide receiver 2 situation. Because like you said, I don't think Moody's, here this year. And so who's that leave you with? Drake London, Cordell Hodge, David Seals. It's not great. So I think you definitely got to go get that. And this is one thing I want to see this regime stay away from. Stay away from best player available. I don't care. Find the guy that fits what you're trying to do. I think that's a lot of the reason that we're in the situation that we are. Is as good as Terry did, this last draft. A lot of times it was, best player available. And so we've got, a hodgepodge of guys that just don't fit a scheme. And that was one thing that Mike Johnson talked about, was it's like you've got guys, that, just don't fit together. And fit together is a lot better than having a guy that, that doesn't fit your scheme. You've got to have that cohesiveness. And so go find the guy that can be your wide receiver 2 to Drake London and go from there. You can, like I say, you can find offensive line talent all throughout the draft.
So a lot of Falcon fans seem to agree as well. Receiver, Miss Maggie said receiver. Southern Woods said receiver or nose tackle. Somebody said bring back Scotty Miller. Airy Falcon said we still haven't seen Blair have any real playing time. And Atlanta Falcons Fandemic says receiver number 2 and then a big defensive tackle for the run game here in Atlanta. So a lot of Falcon fans agree receiver wouldn't be a bad selection in the second round early. As Frisco Gamer says, in my opinion, receiver, defensive tackle, cornerback are the top needs for the Falcons this year, as that is some great takes here. Receiver, DT, defensive back, and a cornerback is a big need in Atlanta for not Jeff Okudah. I'm about to say Jeff Okudah. That's how bad we're looking at cornerback 2 right now. Mike Hughes not playing to par of what he was supposed to be here in Atlanta. And a guy that I think Falcon fans and the Falcons front office really has to see about finding a starting role in this defense is D. Alford. Playing phenomenally to end the season was a big role for him to stay in Atlanta Falcon this offseason.
Yeah, but his play outpriced him for the Atlanta Falcons for his role. I know that there's somebody may throw some. He's unrestricted. I think somebody may throw a little too much money his way to, help us retain him. Hopefully not, but that's one of the players I think that we know may have outpriced himself with his play down the stretch for the Falcons. Yeah. But my thing is with the draft, definitely got to be another playmaker opposite Drake, wide receiver, two, being cornered. Someone said big D tackle. I think that the big D tackle would be something that we need to address in free agency. I think that we can find that's the kind of person you bring in free agency, in my opinion, where you spend some of your money. Our biggest need is stopping that up the gut run. So we need that big anchor in the middle of the defense to, cut that down. I think we're sound everywhere else. Even we may be able to get away with the, cornerback 2 if we eliminate the run game. It's turning into a 3rd and 8 instead of a 3rd and 3. And that's where we end up getting ourselves in trouble.
Yo, absolutely. Guys, to all 57 live viewers right now, man, hit that like button. Bring the subscribes over to the YouTube channel at Dirty Fanatics United. As we get ready to close out this show, we didn't quite make it an hour tonight. We're at 41 minutes, guys. Apologies. Hopefully we'll have some more news for you this weekend as we hope for the Falcons to hire this GM very soon. As soon as they do, if it's this weekend, we'll for sure go live as soon as it breaks the news. So ring that bell so you know when that happens. Cody, David, any topics you guys want to close the show out with before we give our shout-outs?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I'll say Baker Mayfield, grow the hell up. I'll say D. Orlando Ledbetter is not this Falcon homer that y'all think that he is. D. Orlando Ledbetter, for whatever reason, has a job covering the Atlanta Falcons, and I feel like he is one of the biggest Falcon haters of all time. Here's my thing. Baker, we see you twice a year already, buddy, or pal, or whatever you want to say. We're not scared of you. We're not worried about you. I'll say get ready for the ass whooping that you're going to get twice a year like you do. We run the South, not you. Congratulations. You got your three, straight division championships. That ain't shit because y'all ain't been shit and you won't be shit because you're not Tom Brady. I'll say, so you can go ahead and cry that Coach Stefanski didn't give you a call or didn't give you a text and then didn't, after you were shipped off like garbage for a trade that you asked for, buddy. You asked for the trade. Now you're crying that you didn't get a text from your coach that, from what I just read a couple, hours ago, actually wanted to keep you in Cleveland, but you asked to be released, you asked to be traded, and you got traded, and then you didn't get a phone call. Grow up. Enjoy Zach Robinson being your offensive coordinator. I hope you enjoy running out of the pistol. I hope you enjoy the total uncreativity that he brings. So enjoy that, Baker. And I say, I'll see your ass twice a year, and I hope you're ready to get run down on because that's what we're going to do. So sack up, buddy, because here we come.
Shit. Baker Mayfield, steer clear of Cody Keeler.
Please. But yeah,
so tweet about that, Baker. Tweet about that. Well, I want to put my name in your mouth, Baker.
Well, I did hear that Baker, he was hurt about not receiving the text, and then it comes out that he went to the front office and asked for a trade, and they traded him. Then you had a trade that you asked for, and now you're upset that he didn't have class enough to send me a call me or text me to let after I got traded. But no, that's all. But no, one thing when I looked up, trying to see who Stefanski was and what went wrong with him in Cleveland, he did come off the 2023 season, 11-5. But then your quarterback situation shifts to Deshaun Watson getting hurt, and then Jameis Winston is your quarterback for the rest of the season, with Nick Chubb out for the season. So you go from your lead running back that's you produce 1,500 yards rushing with, plus whatever he did in the pass game, to whoever else filled for him, and then you go from Deshaun Watson to Jameis Winston. Might be a little tough to win with that Falcon fan. So he did fall off, but you only is it X's and O's or Jimmy and Joe's. I don't care how good your system is. If you don't have the players to run the system, you may struggle a little bit.
Well, and that's something else we need to talk about. For all these Falcon fans that are upset over the, Kevin Stefanski thing, and they're all, look at his record. Okay, well, let's look at this real quick, too. There are 3 guys right now.
Cody, may I mention, I want to throw this out there, 8 wins in 2 seasons.
Yeah, and that's fine, and I understand that, and that looks bad, but let's look at it this way. There are 32 NFL head coaching jobs, right? Anybody that's worth their salt would kill to coach in the NFL. Not only for the money, but just to say that you did it, right? There are 3 guys now that have gone and interviewed for Cleveland and said, go ahead and take my name out of the hat. What does that say about the Cleveland Browns, and what does that say about their front office? If you think Kevin Stefanski had anything to do with that, the fact that he had any kind of success in that organization, we're talking about an owner who was walking down the streets of Cleveland, a homeless man stopped him and said, you need to draft Johnny Manziel, and that dumb son of a bitch did it. Tell me what kind of organization does that kind of shit other than the Cleveland Browns. The fact that Kevin Stefanski was 2-time coach of the year, 2 times, not once. I don't give a shit if the Associated Press voted on it. I don't care if players voted on it, if coaches voted on it. 2 years, this man was coach of the year in Cleveland, Ohio, coach of the year. I'm telling you right now, it was not a Kevin Stefanski problem. It is a Cleveland Brown problem. It's not a Stefanski problem. So Falcon fans, it's going to be okay. Arthur Blank is not whoever the hell owns the Browns. Jimmy Haslam or whatever the hell his name is. Our owner is not taking draft advice from homeless people. Matt Ryan is not walking down the streets of Atlanta, down Peachtree Street, walking into Magic City and asking strippers who we should be taking in the NFL draft. It is not a Kevin Stefanski problem. It is a front office problem. And
disclosure, DFU has no problems with homeless people.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying, but that's for success. It's probably not what you want to, how you want to run your NFL franchise. There are guys that are paid millions of dollars to make these decisions, and your decision was based off you talked to a homeless guy on the sidewalk. Not a recipe for success in my book. But
David, your thoughts on it? I mean, a guy that has 8 wins in 2 seasons. Your thoughts? What would you tell Falcon fans that speak of the win-lose record?
We can look back to Bill Belichick in his time before he went to the New England Patriots. No, he's seen now as one of the all-time greatest coaches in the history of the game. And before he got to New England, we're probably saying the same thing about him in lieu of what they're saying about Stefanski. Win-loss record wasn't good, but you get into the right situation, the right quarterback along with you, and you see success.
Yep. Absolutely. We got we'll take one more chat here, one more question from the chat. Matt Townderney says, is it over for Anamata? David, what do the Atlanta Falcons save if they cut Anamata? I know we had that number at one point. While you pull that up, Cody, your thoughts. Is Anamata out of Atlanta as the Falcons have kind of turned the page and now we're looking at the new era in Atlanta?
Before I get to Anamata, one more thing about Cleveland. I'm gonna throw him under the bus one more time. All right, Falcon fans, this is the other thing that you got to keep in mind, and this is important. Think about this. Every time the Atlanta Falcons have taken something from Cleveland, it's turned out fantastic for us. Alex Mack, Super Bowl, great center. Tyler Gabriel came over here and balled. Then you come and you get Julio Jones from the Cleveland Browns. If the Cleveland Browns aren't stupid enough to give us all that, we gave up a lot for Julio, but look at what Julio turned in. Super Bowl. Sure, he's going to be in the Falcon Ring of Honor once Matt Ryan repairs that relationship. Easily a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Then, they also, this is a kind of a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyways. They saved us from Deshaun Watson. They were stupid enough to give some guy that enjoys massages. He enjoys his massages a little too much, and then gave him $180 million, which they're still paying for. Could you imagine if we were in that situation right now? Cleveland saved us from that. So why isn't this Stefanski thing, not going to work out? It's because history shows that us taking stuff from Cleveland tends to work out best for us. So anyway, but David Onyemata, I digress. David Onyemata, if the money is right, I want David Onyemata back here. I think David Onyemata played an excellent season this year. I think he contributed a lot of the reason we were able to stop the run. I think he's an excellent defensive tackle. But again, it's going to have to be for the right amount of money. I think he brings an intensity. I think he brings a toughness to that defensive line. He's definitely a hell of a player. So I definitely would like to see him back in here, but if it's going to cost me a Caden Ellis or, it's going to cost me a Caden Ellis and a Tyler Algier, no, absolutely not. I would say go find that talent in the draft. I'd much rather have a Caden Ellis in my second or my mid to secondary area, in the linebacker position. But ultimately, if there is a way to bring David Onyemata back with the right amount of money, with what he's shown me over his time here in Atlanta, I would love to have him back.
What I see, he's an unrestricted free agent in 2026 with a market value of $8 million. So, yeah.
Bye-bye.
So do we get the same, from giving Root more snaps in that position? Do we, we're going to have hopefully Trice can play a little bit more on the line. We get some Harrison back.
Yep,
I think David Onyemata has played his last down.
Another one bites the dust, as they say. Another one down, another one up. It is a business, Falcon fans. David Onyemata, I think, did a great job throughout his years in Atlanta. I think that was one of the better pieces that Terry brought over when he was a GM here in Atlanta. So definitely may be over for Onyemata in Atlanta, as we'll figure that out very soon as football offseason, or we call it offseason because we're not in playoffs, is really rolling by, man. We find out who goes to the Super Bowl this weekend. So we may do some coverage on that, man. It ain't Falcon football, but it's football. So we may do some coverage. Georgia Pride said, "What's good, fellas? What's going on, Georgia Pride? Appreciate you coming through, dog. We're actually getting ready to close the show out, so be sure to rewatch us as we close out the live video and catch the full episode. It's a great show here tonight with all the viewers, over 67 live viewers, man. Y'all guys hit that subscribe button, leave the likes, comments, bring the questions, hit the hashtag DFU to get entered in this raffle, guys. We got 14 entries. We want to make it to 20. We get 20. We will do the giveaway. Cody, with that being said, give me your shout-outs for tonight. And real quick, shout-out to the 2 new subscribers during the live video.
Let's go.
Falcon fans, we're at 675, trying to reach that 1K goal, man. So hit that subscribe button. Cody, Mike's yours.
Yeah, first foremost, as we always do, got to thank God. We got up this morning. We all went to work. We all got home. So shout out, the big man upstairs. Shout out to you guys coming on and doing this on a Friday night. I always love talking Falcon football with the boys and with the chat. Shout out to the chat, man. I'll say without y'all, there is no need to get on here on on a video camera and I guess video camera, web camera, whatever you want to call it. It shows my age. So shout out to you guys coming and watching, liking, subscribing, doing all those things, man. It's free. It pushes out there to the internet universe, gets us to more Falcon fans. We get to do more things. It helps, people like Mike Johnson, get on the show. John Abraham, come get on the show. So keep doing your guys' thing. It's always awesome to see y'all, coming in and keeping the chat rolling, man, with your comments. So I say it means a lot to us. So I say, no, it means a lot to me. Shout out to the wife out there watching the podcast like she always does. Such a loving, supporting wife. I couldn't live life without her. But I know, right? It'll get all sappy. I say, but other than that, Falcon fans, if you're in the Atlanta area, it is supposed to be icy and snowy. I don't know how true that is because Georgia weather is about as bipolar as my ex. So go ahead, stay off the streets if you don't have to be on the street. Stay out, stay safe. Always remember, rise up and stay out of massage parlors after 2:00.
Shit.
Looking at you, Deshaun Watson.
Let's first off give an honor to God. Our shop jock Cody, who always keep it interesting and keep the podcast interesting. You never know who
What's
we're
gonna
gonna
come
get
out of my
when it
mouth?
comes to him. Never know, but we have to love it. But like I said, giving a shout out to all the other co-hosts. They always bring something different in their own special way. So I appreciate you all coming on. Talking Falcon football with me. The family, the Dirty Bird Nation. We're gonna be all right. Just give it a chance. Let's see how this thing's gonna work out. Everybody got their preconceived notion about where this thing is gonna go. But like I said, no one had known how Kevin Stefanski has coached the Atlanta Falcons football team. So all this is new, and we just gotta give it a chance to see where it goes. We don't have a choice. Either you're gonna find another team to root for, or you're gonna get along with what's going on with the system. We're gonna be mad for a week or two, but I know you all have the Dirty Birds rooted down deep in your heart. So we'll see you when the season starts.
Yep, absolutely. Always, man, rise up and shout out to all the viewers tonight, man. You guys are awesome. Appreciate all the support that you brought tonight. 5 new subscribers during the live video, guys. Keep hitting that subscribe button, man, as we're on the road to 1K and cannot do it without you guys. Appreciate all the interactions in the comment section, guys. All the likes, man. We had over 40 live viewers on YouTube at one point tonight, man. So if we could get 40 likes on this live video, it would greatly help push our content out to more Falcon fans so they can catch and hop on the DFU crew as we head off into the offseason and give you all breaking news as the Falcons release it here from DFU, directly from the Atlanta Falcons. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Big shout out to my guy Cody and David coming through with me, late night talks with DFU. Shout out to Rick, shout out to Robert, and my guy Philip. They were not able to make it tonight. Another part of DFU, as we have a lovely panel of co-hosts here on the channel, guys. So be sure to follow us throughout this journey, man. As always, rise up, A-Town down. We out of here, man. Appreciate y'all. Much love. See you next Friday at 9 o'clock. We out.